You guys are on, starting now. Go.
Hey guys.
Look at this.
Everybody excited to be here?
Yeah.
We're going to talk to you. We're the Glean Club. And we just talked about gleaning. Gleaning in this case is gathering food from the farmers that have either been in the field, harvested, or stored. And a lot of organizations across the country are trying to figure out a way of how to get this surplus of food to those who really need it. And we've actually been talking, for real, to these organizations. And we're really excited because we have garnered some information from them that basically have described to us in full that there are a ton of inefficiencies across the board. And what we've devised is a product that is actually going to go to market, for real. And we're really excited to present this to you. And without further ado, I'll let the team go.
So Paul, you want to present these our flows?
Yep. So the problem with the challenge with the gleaning organization, there are a number of gleaning organizations. Gleaning organizations need to connect the farmers who have harvested crops and they've got a surplus sitting there about to disappear with the distribution organizations, the food banks and the charities that distribute food to people. They need volunteers, people like yourselves who really want to go out on a field and get bit up by mosquitoes at 8:30 in the morning picking up corn. And they need to create gleaning events. This is literally how it gets done. You get an email saying there's a gleaning event next Tuesday. Who wants to come? People need to sign up. So these people are having a great deal of inefficiency putting this material together. This application will create a database that will allow the farm information to be stored for their access, the distribution information to be stored for their access, the volunteers, once they're involved, they'll know who they are and what they've been doing, and they'll have a history of the gleaning events. So this will allow the farmer to tell the Glean organization that they've got 4 rows of potatoes that need to be picked up by 10 o'clock on Tuesday, otherwise they're going to be plowed over. The gleaning organization can check out which food bank can take 2,400 pounds of potatoes. And if one can only take 2,000, he can check some other food banks where he can distribute the other pounds of potatoes. He will create a gleaning event. So he can put down all the information about where it's going to happen, when it's going to happen. And he only has to do that once. When he does that, it publishes it to the public website, and it also creates email templates that sends out to all of the previous people who have been interested in volunteering. Those people can then go to the website and they can see where it is, what it is, how it is, whether it's full or not. And then as they accept this and say, yes, I'd like to go, now we see that 5 or 6 people, now 6 or 6 people, it's full. He's got a management system for keeping track of that. And then once the person signs up and volunteers, they've got their own volunteer page where they can keep track of their own information. And they also have a history page that gives them information about what they've done so far. Once the event is over, we have a history page for the Glean event where we can add comments and we can have photos and people can keep track of what they've been doing. And we have some marvelous wireframes for these. I think I just crashed the system. I just lost it. Excuse me, I've never used an iPad.
I got one here, Paul. So, the whole engine of this thing would be this event page.
That's beautiful.
And we're picturing something like, I mean, maybe not Eventbrite might not be the best example in the world, but it's a page that everybody can go to. You can Google it, you can find it. Volunteers can find it. The org who's putting together the Glean has created this event. So instead of having, usually they have to call the farms, they have to ask all these questions, they have to figure out how many pounds, you know, what kind of trucks are needed. You know, all the volunteers have to get together and the organization leader has to do all this right now. So what this event page hopefully will do is allow them to create it. They create it, they go in, they put the notes in there. There's a personal checklist here. Some people are looking at it here, but there's like a wish list or, you know, things that need to be brought. So it's kind of just like this, you know, like an Evite page or whatnot. It tells you how many spaces are left, and when it fills up, you'll get a notification. So if you volunteered for it, you're on the list, but it fills up before it gets to you, you'll get a notice. You don't have to come. You do have to come. It tells you who's going to bring what. Tells you the list of volunteers, the alternates. and also as a chat system, because the volunteers actually have to put this together themselves. Today, the organizations have to like call all the volunteers, get them together, connect them, see who's going to drive, things of that nature. We're going to have a message board so people can do that themselves and organize themselves, figure out who's going to bring what and whatnot. We also have this just shows the post page. So when a glean is over, we thought it'd be valuable to have a summary, almost like a post-mortem page, comments, how it went. The farmers can log into this as well and tell people how the volunteers were, tell the organization how the volunteers were. The volunteers can say how the farm was, and you'll have this forever. You can have photos, you can share it. And this is actually would be a valuable thing for these people to have, because they'd be able to tell which farms, you know, they work well with, which volunteers are working well. And the organization now has a one-stop place to like figure all this stuff out, so they don't have to call a million different people. So that's the goal of the whole project. We also have a volunteer page that Stephanie can walk through a little bit. And this is the same idea where, you know, this whole event engine can have a volunteer page, which also allows the volunteers to start a profile. You can put your name, you get badges, you can do things of that nature. Stephanie can speak a little bit more to it.
Sure. So along with it, we really wanted to interact with the volunteers. This is important for everyone, the farmers, the organizations, but also the volunteers. And so it's kind of like your personal dashboard. You have an overview page which has all of your personal information, a calendar of like upcoming gleans that you've scheduled, or gleans that, you know, people are reaching out to you saying, hey, this is coming up next week, would you like to volunteer, would you like to participate? So along with that, like Scott said, we're trying to add some fun, some gamification, adding some badges, like, you know, if you're driving other volunteers, like, that's awesome, you get a badge for this. What else do we have?
You can talk to other volunteers.
Yeah.
You can
list your friends.
list all your friends that are, you know, it can connect to Facebook, SharePoint. And this is actually real needs that these people are asking for. The organizations use SharePoint now. They use a lot of these other mechanisms that they'd like this to tie into. So the idea would be that it really could. So you could actually see, you know, which Facebook friends have gone to which farms,
and
maybe hook up with them.
Like their badges and their grade,
Right,
and it's just
right.
kind of that competition level where you really want to know what your friends are doing and you want to be involved, and they're seeing their scores and everything is giving you the motivation to really get out there and volunteer more and help out.
So this was done with the primary focus of the organization that we contacted, the gleaning organizations themselves. There's one in Vermont that we were in touch with, and one in Washington State. Their main problem is efficiently putting all of these different groups together and communicating back to the farms, to the distribution organizations. I think what we're offering them here is something that would both help motivate the volunteers. The volunteers now have a lot more visibility of what they're doing and how it's affecting things. It should also reduce the amount of time that the gleaning organizers spend to get information back to the farmers, to get information about where things are and when things are. One of the things that Scott may not have made clear is that the event happens with about a 48-hour window. So you may know a day or two before there's an event that will happen for 2 hours. So they have very little time to do this organization, and we're trying to come up with a system that would let them use their time as efficiently as possible to get successful gleaning events to happen. That's
it.
Cool.